Hey y'all, I'm Momentary Unicorn, and I've been playing Dead by Daylight for a few years now. I've got almost 3,000 hours on the game, not near as much as some streamers do, of course. But I know that a lot of people are going to be downloading the game for the first time because of the Five Nights at Freddy's update. And while I can't help you play Killer well, because I don't play Killer all that often, I can definitely help you out with the survivor side of things. So I created a guide here, and in this guide I'm going to discuss what starter character you should pick. I know that some people are going to go and get more fashionable characters out the gate. Nothing wrong with that. But in this video, I'm just going to be focusing on the bare basic 7 characters that they start you with. I will be talking about the characters as they appear in order on the menu, from Dwight, Meg, Claudette, Jake, Nia, Bill, and David. I'm going to be telling you a little bit about their perks, and I'll be showing a little bit of gameplay about, how you can use them, etc. I'll also have timestamps for each individual character in the video as well. I also want to take some time to talk about basic gameplay and things to look out for as a beginner. Like, there's going to be times where you think you've hidden perfectly and there's no reason that the killer should have found you, but they do anyway. We're going to talk about those things. Alright, let's get started. Picking a survivor can be as simple as just pick a character that you like. Maybe the character looks like you, maybe they're attractive in general to you, or maybe they're a franchise character that you really like. But if you haven't spent more money on Dead by Daylight and don't want to right away, the base survivors are a fine option. You don't have to play the character to unlock their perks for all the other characters. That is a thing. But if you really want to play with perks right away, it is best to first invest in the character that you choose to use right away. I personally have no problem playing perkless from time to time, but I have over 2,900 hours on my main account, and I'm pretty used to the game by now. If that says anything, you might not be if you just installed it pretty recently. I'm not going to sit and directly read all the perks to you, but I am going to put them on screen. I was thinking, I could do that, but you can read it for yourself. You're capable of reading, I'm sure. But hey, if you do for some reason want me to go ahead and read out literally all the perks in a couple of videos, please let me know. You don't have to tell me why if you don't want to tell me why. If you think it would be helpful, just drop a comment below. And while we're at it, if you have any questions at all during the video, just drop something in the comments. I have no problem answering questions, and there are no dumb questions here. I think that I would rather give you situations where you could use each perk, with a minor explanation. If you want to be more objective-focused, like working on generators, I can suggest leveling Dwight first. Dwight has Prove Thyself, which allows him to increase his personal repair speed on generators when his teammates are near, or you can use Leader to help others heal faster, open gates faster, and so on. Bond also allows you to watch your teammates' behavior so you can see if they're in a chase or not. The HUD does have the little spider legs on it telling you when someone is being chased, but it's nice to know how far or how close they are to you. Maybe Bond will help you know when to keep working a gen, or maybe you feel brave and want to intercept a hit for your teammate. At the cost of being exhausted for a period of time, Meg has a perk called Sprint Burst, which allows her to get a quick burst of speed for just a few moments. And you can use this to zoom away from the killer right before they hit you, or perhaps you want to try to get a flashlight save. She can also silently jump in a locker or silently hop over a window, though it does not hide your scratch marks. Keep that in mind, it's just really quiet. And this is doable at every 15 seconds, but it has to be max level. And when the last generator is finished, or if the hatch is closed. With Adrenaline, she can heal a full health state, even off of the ground. However, if she gets off of the ground with this, do keep in mind you are still in an injured state and the killer can just knock you back down. Now, this perk used to still work when you got pulled off of the hook after the generators have been completed, but it no longer does that. Claudette is a character you may want to play, one, because she's got some great outfits, but besides that, She's also really good at keeping her teammates healthy. With empathy, she can see her injured teammates at a far range, 128 meters, which is pretty dang far in my opinion. And this beats Dwight's bond, which is only at a 36-meter range. I don't personally care for self-care, which you can use without a medkit, but if you pair it with botany, it's not so bad. Normally it heals at 35% speed, but it should be healing at about 85% with botany knowledge's extra 50%. Now, botany knowledge is great not just for healing yourself with self-care, but also to help keep your teammates healed up pretty quickly too. And you don't have to unhook somebody for the extra speed boost either. Jake has Saboteur and can see hooks in white, but they're also yellow if they're Scourge hooks. Scourge hooks have effects when the survivor is hooked on them, and it may be beneficial to you to run up, sabo that hook before the killer can put your teammate on it, because it may have devastating effects on your generator progress. Now, it can be rather difficult sometimes to guess correctly which hook the killer's going to go to, but it's worth a shot. Or you can just be like me and always use it when you unhook your teammate and try to heal them with the hook. Now, you'll have noticed at some point that some killers' perks make you scream. Jake's Calm Spirit prevents that. And also makes things a little bit unsettling sometimes when you can't be bothered to scream with a meat hook in your shoulder. Now, Iron Will is great for hiding from the killer while injured, although you'll still leave scratch marks and you will still leave pools of blood, but it makes it significantly harder, if not impossible, to hear you, although they can still hear your footsteps. Nia's Urban Evasion is great for sneaking around on the map. Why? The lower you stay, the harder it is for the killer to see you around objects. You'll find that crouching is very, very useful in hiding in a lot of situations, and this perk makes it so you can also sneak around the objects while the killer is looking for you. Regular crouch walking is way slower, and Urban Evasion will make you get around that object much faster. Now, Streetwise does not get a lot of use from some players, but it does reduce the usage on your items if you wanted to bring a flashlight or a medkit or a toolbox or something like that into the game. It also affects your teammates around you, so it can be quite useful, but they have to be within 8 meters of you. Now, anyone out there that knows more about this stuff than I do is more than welcome to correct me if I'm wrong, but Balanced Landing has been such a great perk that it has been nerfed a couple times in the past. When you fall from a height, and it could be a little hill, or it could be a real tall thing, okay? But when you fall, you make a lot less noise, and you get a 3-second burst of speed, which could really save your butt in a chase. It's an excellent perk to have. Alright, so let's talk about Bill. Bill is absolutely one of my favorites, although he only has 4 cosmetics in the game. He does not get a lot, and it's because he's a licensed character. But Left Behind is an excellent perk if you're looking at being the last person alive in your group, or if you're solo queue. Now, this isn't a sign to be selfish and hide and not help your teammates. But if you do end up being the last person alive, it allows you to see the hatch within a 32-meter range at max level. Now, I think Unbreakable is still considered a meta perk. I don't purposely use meta perks myself, I just use whatever sounds fun. But Unbreakable allows him to increase his recovery rate while he's on the floor by 30%. When he hits the max area, usually it says find help. In this case, it's not going to say that. It's going to let you load it all the way up. Alright? Once per match, you can pick yourself up off the floor. So only use this when the killer's not floating around you if you can help it. Or try using it in a situation where there's a vault nearby or a pallet that you can drop. So when you get pulled off the hook, right, you get this little notification on the right side of your screen. That is base kit borrowed time. This perk used to be exclusive to Bill, and you had to equip it in order to do this. Of course, you could also unlock it and apply it to other characters too, but they decided to go ahead and just let everybody have it as base kit. So what's the point in this thing, right? Well, it increases the time that borrowed time is active. You will occasionally find that a killer will still try to tunnel somebody out, and they will literally wait out the timer for base kit borrowed time. This makes it so that they get smacked while extended borrow time is active. They still can run away, okay? So if you're playing at some point and you feel like, yeah, this is happening kind of a lot tonight, maybe consider equipping it. It could help out. So David can be a tricky one. Dead Hard has been nerfed pretty good in the past. It essentially gave you another health state in chases, but now it's much harder to land. When you push the action button, minus E on the keyboard, you'll do a little forward motion like a dash. With precise timing, you can take an extra hit from the killer that you'll have to mend if you can get away. However, when I say precise, I mean it. It can be hard to learn, but worth it if you can land it. Pair Dead Hard with no mither, no mither, and you get to use Dead Hard without having to be hit first. But you'll be injured for the entire match. So you'd better be good at either not getting caught or preferably running the killer. You don't leave pools of blood, and your grunts of pain are a little bit quieter. So you'll be a bit harder to track if they're trying to follow your blood and sound. We're Going to Live Forever can be really nice if you have a teammate who was knocked down and left behind while the killer is focused on yet another teammate. When you pick them up, if the killer comes back and hits them within 6 seconds of you picking them up, they'll have endurance. This gives them an extra hit so they can run away. 6 seconds doesn't sound like a lot, but you'll be surprised how useful it can be. So, unhooking survivors. I want to start by saying try to let the killer leave the hook before unhooking your teammate. If you get caught, run the killer away so one of your teammates can rescue them instead. I don't know if it's still like this at high MMR, but some people just equip perks that let them escape being tunneled, and that's when the killer targets someone who's just been unhooked. And this is to counter being saved in front of the killer, but it's best not to assume that people have that stuff equipped. I'm usually not at that MMR because I play to have fun, not to win, though getting the generators done and escaping is a great bonus, so I don't throw my matches either. I don't hate players that want to be really good though, since I know they just have fun a bit differently than I do. When unhooked, some survivors will lead you to the edge of the map for a heal or to a pallet where they feel more safe. Follow them and help them out. And it's best for you who are doing the unhook to heal the survivor first if you're also injured, unless you are death hook and they are not. Because of base kit borrowed time, they can take a hit if the killer shows up, at least until it runs out. Sometimes the survivor will insist on healing you first though, so it's best to just let them if that happens. When you unhook a survivor and you think the killer is coming back to the hook, do not heal at the hook. Point at the survivor to run away if they haven't yet, and then run around and leave scratch marks and try to get the killer to chase you so they can escape. I have seen too many times that a never hooked, perfectly healthy survivor will just walk away while their death hook teammate takes chase because the healthy one was being selfish. Now, if you are on death hook and that person got off the hook for the very first time in the whole match, perfectly acceptable to just let them take chase. The longer the entire team is alive, the easier it is to get generators done, etc. If the killer does ignore you and you try to take chase away from your injured teammate, you can actually get in there and take a hit for them. You can also wedge yourself into a tight space where the killer can't get to them, stuff like that. But there's going to be times where you absolutely cannot catch up to the killer and survivor pair, and they're going to get downed anyway. Don't fret too much about it. It is disappointing, but it's just going to be what it's going to be sometimes. Alright, so let's talk about killer aura read perks. Alternatively, let's call this, I hid really well, why did the killer still find me? This is going to happen often enough that it will leave you questioning. I wish that I could watch some matches again from a spectator point of view, or from even the killer's point of view. But we don't have that feature, so I'm sure it would be helpful if it was a thing. We just have to put up with what we have. So, the most common reasons the killer found you without aura perks, though, are the killer has a first-person camera, and they may see things that you don't expect from their field of view. So while carrying another survivor, they might have caught a glimpse of you tucking yourself behind a wall somewhere. Killers can also hear lockers open and close, even if you get in them slowly. They make a squeaking noise. I try to hide in one while someone is being hooked, or if they're breaking a generator or something like that, to help cover the noise. You also might have hid somewhere, or even in a locker, but your scratch marks went away a lot slower than you anticipated, which will lead them straight to you. And other times, the killer just happened to be looking around and got lucky. Now, I won't deny there are people that cheat in the game, but they seem to appear more so for streamers. But I do occasionally see somebody that's kind of suspicious. I usually don't yell at them in the in-game chat. I just use the report feature and tell the behavior team, hey, I think this guy's kind of fishy, just check him out. If they think they're hacking, they'll get him eventually. One of the most common aura reads that I see, for example, is Lethal Pursuer. This perk shows the killer where everyone is in the first few seconds or so of the match. This also adds an extra 3 seconds to all the other aura read perks that I'm going to talk about. Barbecue and chili is also another common one. Normally it lasts about 6 seconds, but it can last up to 9 thanks to Lethal Pursuer. But when your teammate is hooked, a lot of times they'll be looking around and seeing who's really far away. If they don't see everyone, sometimes they hang around the hook for a little bit and make sure nobody's there to get a rescue as soon as they leave. However, you may want to counter barbecue and chili if you are injured or death hook. So whenever they're about to hook a teammate, just get in the locker. Count after the teammate's been hooked. Count about 6 to 9 seconds, depending if you suspect they have Lethal Pursuer or not. And then you can get back out of the locker and they shouldn't know where you are. You will get a crow if you're sitting in a locker for 10 seconds, but it's not a big deal. It's 3 crows that you gotta worry about, because when you have 3 of them, they start giving off a noise notification to the killer telling them where you are. Another way you can counter barbecue and chili is you can start going a direction for about 6 to 9 seconds and then back up and go a different direction. Alternatively, if you're sitting on a generator, count those number of seconds, get off that generator, and go hide after those few seconds are up. So let's say you're healing your teammate, and the killer suddenly walks up because they found y'all. So there is a possibility that maybe the killer was just looking around, but if you've been in the killer's terror radius while healing, there's also a chance they might have a perk called Nurse's Calling. They can see the both of you healing behind walls and all that. So you need to make sure, if you suspect they have this, not to heal where you can hear them. So Nowhere to Hide is also a perk that activates when the killer breaks a generator. For a short time, they can see survivor auras within like 24 meters. I just assume they can see me if I'm in their terror radius, so I try to plant myself pretty far away from the generator, but I can, still see what they're doing, and I wait for them to leave. This isn't always perfect, as some killers have a huge radius, like Wesker, and some have a small radius, like the Hag. But also, too, when they walk around, the radius actually follows them, so you do want to keep yourself a pretty good distance away from them. There are a few others, but those are the 4 that I typically see the most. I'm still going to mention a couple more here, but I also don't have footage of all of them, so I hope you'll forgive me. Killers can also sometimes see you while carrying a survivor if they equip a perk called Awakened Awareness. They're usually like turning around and looking. Sometimes they're just looking to see if there's any survivors following them or trying to harass them or trying to break their hook. And, that's all there is to it. Now, Darkness Revealed allows them to open up lockers and close them, and they can look around and see anybody that's close to lockers. I think it's like an 8-meter radius. This includes all the way across the map, by the way, so keep an eye out for that. You'll most often see these perks on Dredge, Huntress, and Trickster, but occasionally you'll find that another killer is using it too. And it's because checking lockers is a bit of a waste of time, especially if there's a bunch in one area. Some maps have like 4 or 5 lockers in one spot. It's absolutely absurd. So if you're hiding too close to a locker, it just helps the killer find you a little bit easier. Gearhead is also one that I see on occasion. It reveals survivor auras when someone gets a great skill check. That's the white part of it. It works, as far as I know, map-wide. I know some Huntress players like this perk. Artist players may or may not. I've tried it a couple times. And the Death Slinger, I couldn't think of his name because we just call him Beetlejuice thanks to certain animations. But it is his perk, so he is also likely to use it. I may have missed one or two perks, but these are the ones that I can recall off the top of my head since I see them the most often when I'm playing. So, Killer Instinct is another thing that can rat you out. Springtrap or the animatronics X, for example, will leave like an orb of cinders behind it. If you step into that, he'll get told that you're nearby via a heartbeat noise and a notification. I've actually used this recently to get him to quit chasing my Deathhook teammate because I was near a generator that was almost completed and he did not want that done. We were down to the last two. So the Legion relies very heavily on Killer Instinct. When in Frenzy, that's when they raise their knife up high and they are running. They will hit you and it cause you to have to go mend. This is called Deep Wound. But all of your teammates within a certain radius, it's usually about the killer terror radius, let's say, are going to get pinged by Killer Instinct. You cannot hide in lockers. The locker will still give you away, and then they can just grab you out of the locker and hook you, so try not to do that. The best you can do is just try to run as far away from your team as you possibly can. And while we're talking about Legion, depending on how they're playing, it may not be beneficial to heal very often against them because they might just be making you mend all the time. Of course, use your instincts on this. If you think you need to heal, do it. Artist is rare, but if her crows pass close to you, Killer Instinct will go off. This also works in lockers. And the twins are also rare to see, but if you're standing by Victor, that's the little guy. While Charlotte is running around, Killer Instinct might go off and rat you out. I think this about covers what I think is most important to know. I am thinking about making a video on the best perks to equip as a beginner and somebody who has spent only the amount of money that is needed to buy base game. So keep an eye out for that. Make sure you subscribe if you want to catch that video as well. That way you don't miss anything. And if you have any questions at all, please go ahead and drop them in the comments section. I will answer what I can. If it's something that I think will also warrant a video, I might do that as well. Again, this is my favorite game, and I really want other people to be able to enjoy it, but I know that there's so much going on, it's really overwhelming. And I also want to drop one more thing here. If you are in the in-game chat, just drop a GG well played no matter how your game went. You're gonna have good games, you're gonna have poor games. It's just gonna be what it's gonna be. But there's already enough toxicity in the world. Don't go yelling at your teammates or yelling at the killer. It's really not going to do anything but make them angry or something. And it's not going to change the outcome. You can't go back in time. Just go next and try to have more fun next match. With that being said, I hope you all have a great day, week, etc. Take care of yourselves.